everyone, you might be here because maybe you're expectant, maybe you're trying to conceive, or maybe you want to learn. I really hope that I can help provide something educational for you. I'm going to talk about the stages and phases of labor. This video will be part 1 of that. It involves the dilation and the thinning of your cervix. This will last until full dilation at 10 centimeters. This is the first stage of labor, and it involves 3 phases. Phase is called early labor. Typically, a person might be 1 to 3 centimeters dilated during early labor. Remember that dilation can vary. Folks can walk around, be dilated, and not be in labor. Be mindful of that. Symptoms of early labor might include a tightening in your abdomen or your lower back, pressure, mild backache, cramping like a period-like cramps. There's a tightening or a peaking at the uterus, pain that moves downward. So we're talking about like butt and vagina pressure. The intensity of this may increase. They don't go away with rest. Cramping may also become consistent and timeable. Some might use this time to prepare for their birth, whether it's planning childcare for another child, getting some extra things done before the baby comes. It's good to get a few things out of the way if you want to during early labor. It definitely keeps your mind busy. Active labor is a little bit different, and you'll notice a sudden shift. I think that's the word that many birthing people use, or they'll notice that things pick up. So be mindful of the difference between early and active labor. Early labor can last for a large chunk of the day, depending on if this is your first child, or maybe depending on your baby's position. So when your labor picks up or switches gears, you're in active labor. Things might start feeling a little bit more intense. Keep holding on, and I promise that these feelings will not last forever. I want you to be mindful that pain means progress. I know that pain might be like a negative word in our society, but in birth, if you notice that things pick up and you think that things feel more painful, usually it's your body's way of telling you that you're progressing. Sometimes it might be helpful to turn that word around and use it in a different way. Active labor might be a good time to continue to stay hydrated and to eat. If you're hungry, be sure to change positions during this time. Try your best to get comfortable, but also find your groove and try to find what works best for you. Upright positions can be super beneficial. There is an article by Evidence-Based Birth that supports different birthing positions, especially upright. Studies show that you might have an easier birth with an upright position, whether you're in this position during active labor or even transition or push-in. During active labor, go ahead and let your provider know what's up. Let them know that you might be in active labor and maybe it's time to make some plans to do whatever you need to do to make your birth space ready or to get to your birth space. Remember, these are the 3 phases. Now we're going to talk about transition. I think that transition is something that is often not talked about. I feel like it gets missed. I feel like things just happen so fast, we may not even recognize it. But transition is when things really pick up. And I call this phase the I can't phase, because whenever a birthing person gets to this point, we'll hear something like, I can't do this anymore, I can't do it, make it stop. And that's something that I said with both of my labors. But I knew with my second child that this meant I was entering transition. And how I knew is because my legs started shaking. That's something that I noticed with my first child as well, is that my legs began to shake. And I know that this is a symptom of transition. So it's important to be able to recognize these things. Please don't always go by dilation, because your cervix is not a crystal ball, and this is something that Badassmotherbirther has an entire wonderful article on, and I'll try to leave that link somewhere for you. In transition, you might go from 8 centimeters to 10 centimeters, or some people might skip all of these stages and just go right to it. It really depends on your body, your baby, and you. Transition, thankfully, is the shortest stage of labor. This may last from 30 minutes to a few hours, but usually not longer than that. So don't worry, you won't feel like this long. So this I can't phase. If you have any sort of support, remind your support team that you will go through an I can't phase maybe. And for them to just remind you that you're so close when you get here. And remember that. Remember that you're so close and you can do this, and this will not last forever. Absolutely not. This is something that is very much temporary, and it's something that's good because your baby is almost here. Though this is the shortest stage, it's definitely the most challenging. I'm not just talking about the physical symptoms. This can be an emotional roller coaster as well. So not only will you shake, sweat, be a little chilly or cold, you might also have an upset stomach. You might get nauseated or vomit. And that doesn't sound fun. But again, this will not last forever, so please remember that. If you feel like you can't do it, you're already doing it. You might notice that your surges or contractions might begin to overlap. That means that they're literally back to back and you feel like there's no breaks in between. There might be a short break. It just depends on you, again, and your body. This might also be mentally and emotionally difficult for you to get through, whether it be because you want to give up or because something else comes up. As a sexual assault survivor, transition is always what has been my #1 trigger in birth. I've only given birth twice, but both births, transition brought something out of me that was really hard to work through. So I strongly suggest talking to a professional or a birth worker or your provider if you've dealt with an assault and you're going to give birth. It's okay to talk about, and you're definitely not alone. Finding a comfortable position of any sort is really good for transition. There is not much that you can do, but you might want to start planning for, where do I want to give birth? Do I want to squat? Do I want to be on hands and knees? Do I want to be reclined? Do I want to be on my side? Do I want to be in the birth tub? Some good key terms that I mentioned here. Let's talk about your cervix. I talked a little bit about cervical dilation. Your cervix is what dilates and thins whenever you're getting close to having your baby or throughout labor. Your cervix is below your uterus and above your vagina. It is circular like a donut and might feel like puckered lips, but it's always changing during pregnancy and menstruation. Your cervix is also made up of tissue and muscles. Now your vagina is the birth canal. It extends from the uterus to the vulva. It is behind the bladder, in front of the rectum, and forms a birth canal. So you would call the vagina a vagina or a birth canal. It is 9 centimeters long on average. It is covered by thin folds of tissue called the hymen. There's plenty of different positions that you can be in during all 3 of these phases. Early, again, just prepare things, take it easy, do whatever you feel comfortable doing. Some people want to sleep, and that's just fine. It is good to prepare for your birth and listen to your body, and by listening to your body, that could mean napping, that could mean cleaning, that could mean doing whatever you do, just having a normal day. And then active labor, I like to say stay active in active labor, because being upright and walking and bouncing on your ball helps aid gravity and bringing your baby down. So active labor might be a good time to keep active and to keep fluids down. Transition should just be a time of comfort. Again, I'll be making another helpful educational video. This is part 1. I hope you all enjoyed.